Number 10. Serpent Mound. The Great Serpent Mound is a 1,400-foot long, 3-foot high prehistoric effigy located in Peebles, Ohio, United States. Serpent Mound was first reported via surveyors Ephraim Squire and Edwin Davis and was featured in their Ancient Monuments of Mississippi book back in 1848. Looks just like a regular golf course, doesn't it? But underneath, it's perfectly placed and well-preserved earth formations that were made by hand to align with something in the sky. The mound is the largest serpent effigy in the world. Yeah, big snake. The mound itself winds back and forth for more than 800 feet with its tail coiling in 7 different areas. Tons of Clovis-era spearheads have been found that indicate interaction with other groups of ancient humans, along with the Denisovans and the Neanderthals. Archaeologists believe that the mound's creation was influenced by 2 astronomical events: the light from the supernova Crab Nebula in 1054 and Halley's Comet in 1066. The mound is also located on an ancient meteorite impact location, which makes things absolutely way scarier. In 2003, geologists from Ohio State University and Glasgow said the meteorite impact origin of the structure at Serpent Mound is the best evidence for its build and importance. Yeah, nothing crazy, just a mile-long, cosmically aligned serpent made out of rocks, made from prehistoric dudes who could barely work fire right on top of a huge impact location. Yeah. Something's fishy here. Number 9. The Terracotta Army. Hey, if you dig what we do here on Bumblebee, make sure you hit us up with a like button or comment down below which discovery in ancient history has you laying awake at night. I know mine. Let me know, I'll check it out. The Terracotta Army, don't even get me started, was first discovered in 1974 by a group of farmers east of the Queen Emperor's tomb mound at Mount Lee. For centuries, reports mentioned pieces of the terracotta fragments found, roofing tiles, bits of brick, masonry, but when they discovered heads of clay bodies, yeah, the Chinese archaeologists started to investigate and dig a little bit deeper. To this day, it remains the largest pottery group ever found on Earth. The Terracotta Army is a collection of sculptures depicting the armies of the Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of China. Apparently a form of funerary art buried with the emperor around 209 BCE with the purpose of protecting him in the afterlife. 8,000 soldiers, 130 chariots, 520 horses, and 150 cavalry. Yeah. That's a lot of protection. The site is now a UNESCO World Heritage Site and has been since 1987. I'm just getting Medusa vibes when I look at this, you know? Like, I'm not convinced the actual purpose of this operation. Like, was it a front? Were they once alive? Who knows, dude? This place is mysterious, but cool. Number 8. The Antikythera Mechanism. The Antikythera Mechanism is an anomaly ancient computer that uses the cosmos to predict astronomical events. A group of sea sponge divers discovered the Antikythera shipwreck in early 1900 just off the island in Greece, hence the name. I find it funny that divers diving for something you wipe your butt with found an ancient computer just chilling down there. Something about that makes me laugh. Many think it's cursed too due to its first handlings. Apparently after its discovery, 3 of the divers who dove down died shortly after its find. 150 feet deep just off Point Glyphadia, the team retrieved millions in worth of bronze, marble, pottery, glassware, jewelry, coins, and of course, this ancient MacBook. This device is made entirely out of a single bronze sheet built within a wooden case about the size of a shoebox. Faces and cogs covered in Greek inscriptions indicating the device's astronomical calendar, purpose, use, basically everything we have on our iPhone right now within this wooden box 2,200 years ago. Yeah, again, collecting sea sponges to wipe our butts with and then just stumbling upon a computer. I don't know, someone's getting a raise, I'll say that.
Number 7. The Bassano Vase. This vase comes from the 15th century. It was made for an excellent wedding gift, but the night before, the bride sadly lost her life with the vase still in her hands, so a lot of questions, right? The family of course kept it afterwards, but as the vase was passed down the family line, a pattern began to unveil itself. Whomever held possession of the Bassano vase died shortly after in a weird way. Now keep in mind this was the 15th century, okay? The average lifespan was already 30 to 40 years old. But after this many deaths in the family, it was packed away for good, okay? Or so they thought. This vase showed up again in history in 1988 alongside a single note. The note was pretty to the point. It said, "Beware, this vase brings death." End of note. Whoever found it was like, okay. And then continued on with it. Yeah, they kept the vase, didn't heed the warning, and then it was auctioned for over $2,000 sans note. Yeah. The pharmacist who won the auction, well, you guessed it, they passed away within months. Number 6. Ghost boots. These boots are made for haunting, and that's just what they'll do. Yeah, I put a pair of boots on this list. That's where we're at now. Let's do it. This is a photo of a young lady and it may look like a classic family trip, but upon closer inspection, it seems like somebody is standing behind her. Now, of course, tracing this photo back to its origins, her father said nobody was behind her at this time, that it was taken, because that would be pretty weird, right? Hey, stand right here in an open field, thanks. Hey, can you move please? There's an open field. Thanks. You know, it's a little weird. This shot was taken at Zushi Kanagawa in Japan. You can see boots and what looks like clothing sticking out from behind her elbow. Father said, I took a few photos. When I was looking through them at night, I noticed the boots behind her. I took several in the same spot, but only one of these photos had the boots. Yeah, you always see that in movies, right? They're always going through these photos at night at like 2 a.m. Then they find something scary. It's never at Walmart in the middle of the day. You know what I mean? It's always scary in a dark kitchen. Ugh. What would you do? I would freak out. And he freaked out, obviously. He showed a friend, and then said friend posted it on Reddit, hence why we're here now. Haunted boots, the more you know. Number 5, the Anguished Man. Historical paintings are cool, I guess. I don't know, they're pretty interesting. But this is the first time I've read up on the Anguished Man myself, and I wish I didn't, to be honest. It's pretty unsettling. It's now considered one of the most haunted objects in the world, and it looks like the part 2. It looks like it's from a horror movie. This oil painting was created by, of course, an unknown artist, but the actual paint here used in the painting is mixed with blood, real blood. Their legit DNA is in this painting, whoever it is. Their blood, sweat, and tears. Great. Not much is known of the artist as they passed away shortly after, but the current owner is Sean Robinson from Cumbria, England. His grandmother had given him said painting. There wasn't much known beforehand. Maybe she just found it at an auction, whatever. But his grandmother did warn him that it was cursed. Yeah, here's some Werther's original, and also here's a cursed painting. Enjoy. Sean had to leave it in his basement at first because his wife wasn't on board. More than fair. I'd be like, no, can we not? Can we turn it around? Thanks. But when the basement randomly flooded, he had to move it upstairs at that point, which is already pretty creepy. Now after, the couple heard crying or screams or whispering, things you don't want to hear alone in a house with a haunted painting coming from the room with the painting. It got so bad Robinson uploaded time-lapse footage to YouTube in 2011, and it shows the door closing by itself next to the painting. Also, yeah, keep this in the basement or flood it, I don't care. I agree with the missus here. Number 4, music box. We had to include one of the creepiest elements of the Conjuring movie because it's a real thing. Director James Wan wanted to use the music box in the first film because, you know, mirrors and creepy tones make for great suspense and all that jazz. But this was also a real haunted artifact from their real haunted house. Today the box is safely stored in the Warren's Occult Museum, like I mentioned before, just a fun house of scary that you should definitely never touch, alongside other items that look more or less normal, right? One of which is the real Annabelle doll. This part of the movie actually scared the shit out of me. Any mirror scene, I can't do it. I end up eating my hoodie. They always do it slow too. I hate movie scenes that include mirrors. But this is real life though, you can't forget that. This music box actually caused a lot of trouble for these poor girls. Specifically April, youngest of the Perrin family. She found this unique antique in the house and then she used it to communicate to another spirit. A spirit that just happened to be named Rory. Yeah, it's a great haunted name, Rory. Nice, it's not friendly at all. In the movie, this was a happy ending, whatever, but in real life, the Bathsheba Sherman case was never resolved.
Number 3, Montezuma's Revenge. Yes, that's right. Montezuma's Revenge, a traveler's worst nightmare. I too have succumbed to the horrors of Montezuma's Revenge. And it's always when I gotta do something important, like on a movie set, or with a group of people I'm really trying to impress, especially career-wise. So the rule is no pickled bocconcini peppers before a critical event. However, I'm talking about a different kind of Montezuma's Revenge, not the bathroom kind. I'm talking about his gold. I'm talking about when Hernan Cortez and the conquistadors destroyed the Aztec Empire. Montezuma cursed them. And that applies to his lost gold as well, which in case you didn't know, the Spanish were after. It's pretty much all they were after. So if Montezuma can curse your family trip to Cancun, then surely he can curse a pile of his own gold and jewels. After some were dumped in the lake and others in the desert. I just wouldn't exactly be so excited to go find it. You don't know what might happen if you do. If he can give you diarrhea, maybe he can give you vomiting. You don't know. You don't know. I'm pointing a lot in this video.
And number 2, ancient mirror. It doesn't matter who you are, you've heard of this curse before. Maybe you haven't. Maybe you're experiencing this curse right now, I hope not. You break a mirror and what do you get? You get 7 years of bad luck. Has this happened to you ever? If so, what year are you on? I'm on 4 myself. How close are you to the 7-year mark? Because we got your back, okay? Ancient Romans believed that the human soul would renew every 7 years. That's where the 7-year thing comes into play. It's where it all started. It takes time to repair the human soul, right? Combined with the belief that mirror's reflection was the only way into the soul, well, now we have one dude in history who feels really bad for breaking the first ever mirror. Therefore, a curse has lived on. If you break a mirror, you're tearing the soul from the body, and now you're abandoning it. In Kazakhstan, if you break a mirror, evil spirits will haunt the person responsible for the damage. That's a pretty horrible deal. They say you can't look into a broken mirror afterwards, like once it shatters into a bunch of pieces, because that's bad luck as well. So if you break a mirror, you just gotta do nothing about it, I guess. You just gotta be like, okay, and sweep without looking. There's too many mirrors now. I can cut to today. I'm sure ancient Romans had no idea what 2022 would look like. We have phone cases with mirrors on them. We're literally surrounded by mirrors. I broke a studio mirror, a dance studio mirror once. Am I doomed? I feel like I'm doomed.
Number 1, vampire burial. If you couldn't tell, I get a lot of my knowledge from movies, TV, and video games. It's just what raised me, that's how it goes. So you can't blame me when my knowledge of vampires comes from Skyrim and the hit young adult romance novels Twilight. You know what I'm saying? However, what I do know is that they have sharp teeth, they don't like garlic, and will cease to exist if you drive a wooden stake through their heart. However, that's kind of a moot point, as most things would not work anymore if you did that. I know I wouldn't. Some folks in Poland a few hundred years ago were not taking any chances, however. Remains found in Kaldus, Poland were that of anti-vampire graves. Basically, you bury the vampires and you leave a wooden stake in their heart just in case it wants to wake up and eat you, or do whatever they do at night. I don't know, blah blah blah, some of that stuff. Or remove their head entirely. No wooden stake? No problem. Just toss a couple small boulders into the hole. That way, the bloodthirsty menace can't get people. You know, boy, people in the past were so kind. That's so nice.
Kicking off our list at number 10, a cursed phone number. The song 867-5309/Jenny has been stuck in my head for about 18 years now. It's a classic. That song is a banger. Great jingle too. Imagine if a pizza place figured that number out first. Would have been game over. A cursed phone number. What are we talking about here? This phone number, apparently cursed, is 359-888 and then a bunch of 8s afterwards, okay? What's the deal here? Anybody who's had this phone number in the last 20 years or so, apparently they've all met their fate in a weird way. CEO of a Bulgarian phone company, he got cancer at 48. And then 2 criminals later on, both of their deaths were a little bit more mysterious than cancer. All these deaths that happened were within 4 years of each other. That's the, curse aspect of it all. The phone number was suspended, so nobody's able to use it now. Maybe it was a cursed number, or maybe the number had ties to crime. 867-5309 is still stuck in my head. Number 9. The organ. Music is said to bring life into the room, but this time it's a bit too literal for my liking. There is a real organ in the Occult Museum. This belonged to Ed and Lorraine Warren for quite a while, the paranormal investigators. Of course, all these things are found in a haunted house. In one way or another, it's haunted or cursed, as are all these in this list. This organ apparently would play by itself throughout the night. In total, there were 3 different incidents where Ed thought somebody had broken into the museum because he heard the organ being played, but by the time he arrived in a panic, the room was empty. Classic. Nothing had been touched, there was no visitors. Of course, it was just a cursed piano. Nice. A priest then came to bless the museum and the music eventually stopped. But before her passing, Lorraine Warren said to USA Today that the prayers do work, and they blind the evil much like an electric fence does for a dog. Number 8, photograph of Bathsheba Sherman. You always see these videos of UFOs and they're filmed with like a BlackBerry curve. It's just rubbish, it's horrible quality. There's never clear evidence of anything nowadays, right? But we may just have a clear photo with the real Bathsheba Sherman, the witch in the original Conjuring film, that real person in real life. Yeah, we have a real photo of a real witch. This is crazy. This photo is from the Perrin family farmhouse back when it was still the Arnold estate. This was 1885, so the witch was most likely in her 70s at this time, and this witch lived next door to said farm, and although we'll never really know for sure, many believe she's the lady in the middle closest to the camera. Also, the fact that she's wearing some sort of mask and she's standing by herself and looks like a witch, I don't know, definitely her, most definitely her. I feel like nobody wants to stand next to a literal witch, you know? It's like a big radius around her. That's how you know it's her. Imagine doing a silly one with Bathsheba Sherman. You're like, hey, bunny ears, don't curse me.
Number 7, the pharaohs of Egypt. It was said that any thieves who dare enter or disturb the slumber of the deceased king shall be cursed and perish. Well, this applies to archaeologists too, unfortunately. Howard Carter, the famed archaeologist, and his team back in the 1920s had come across the discovery of a lifetime, finding the tomb of King Tutankhamun. You probably heard of him. And kickstarting the study of Egyptology. For anyone in the sciences out there, you know how exciting this is. Trouble is, some folks on Howard Carter's team started to feel a little under the weather. Maybe it was all the excitement from their discovery. Maybe it was the hot African sun and the dry desert, or maybe it was the curse of the Egyptian pharaohs, as some men on his team perished from blood diseases. That's just not okay. So what's the lesson here? Maybe leave these places alone before it starts raining frogs? Huh? Think about it. I don't want that.
Number 6, the Koh I Noor Diamond. Another list, another cursed diamond. Here we go, buckle up. The Koh I Noor Diamond translates to Mountain of Light in Persian, which sounds beautiful, but all that glitters is not gold. A Hindu legend says those who wear the diamond will own the world, but will also know all its misfortunes. 186 carats, this thing was a pure beauty. Of course, it was passed ruler to ruler, century after century at that point. The earliest account actually is 1628. The diamond was first in the possession of Mughal ruler Shah Jahan, but once his own son had him imprisoned, the diamond later went to Iranian ruler come 1739. Nadir Shah invaded, taking countless lives, as well as the Koh I Noor Diamond, all their jewels for that matter, not just the one. It was horrible, but later on he was taken out by 15 of his own officers while he was asleep. Come the 18th century, Queen Victoria had possession of the diamond after being used in the Treaty of Lahore, but Queen Victoria wasn't a fan of the shape. Yeah, she's like, it doesn't really fit with my gauntlet to snap people away. So she had it recut. So now it's only 105 carats, it's a little smaller, but it's still beautiful. Since then, the diamond has only been worn by British royal women, or else we'll explode.
Number 5, Nazca Lines. Imagine the confusion the first pilots, airmen, or anyone who got a good vantage point in the Peruvian desert, and to their surprise, discover some illustrations in the ground. Except, you know, they're massive and no one knows who the heck drew them. Or at least its origins. Obviously it was done by some sort of ancient tribe or civilization, sure, but the grade school process of thought isn't answered. And if you remember, then you remember. You know what I'm talking about. Your 5 W's. Your who, what, where, when, why, and sometimes how. I almost forgot how to count there. That dyslexia is a heck of a thing. I mean, I know how they dug these bad boys in the sand, but hear me out. In those times, there's no plains. The only way you'd be able to see them is on the surrounding foothills. But there's no evidence that these people live close to those drawings, so who were they made for? Gods? Extraterrestrials? The weird guy with the weird hair on the History Channel will tell you so. All I'm gonna say is, anything that's meant for gods and aliens, it ain't meant for us. So keep an eye out in space there. Keep an eye out.
Number 4, ballista balls. I'm not sure if you picked this up yet, but don't take things that don't belong to you. Great, hit the thumbs up for that common knowledge we should all have. Whether you believe in curses or not, leave things alone, and people for that matter, okay? If you want to learn more about Roman artillery, that's why we're here. Don't steal 6th century weaponry. Ever, it's a bad idea. Back in 1989, an archaeological team was brushing up the past near Israeli-Syrian borders, and the remains of an ancient Roman ballista, a massive crossbow, were found. It's exciting, but here comes the bad stuff. 6 years later, researchers found ballista balls, which were sadly the ammo when it came to these massive war machines. And in 2015, these balls appeared in a courtyard outside of a museum in Israel, written from an anonymous thief, imploring others to never touch those stone balls or take them. As, you know, they're cursed. They're all cursed, apparently, full of bad luck. His family apparently left him, this thief, and he had to sell everything he possessed in order to just get by, including those ballista balls. He was gonna sell them and he's like, you know what, no, that's the last thing I own, I'm putting it back. Could be a curse, again, or the fact that he was the thief. Either or. Both not great.
Number 3, the Mother of Dragons. Mary Anning was an English fossil collector, dealer, and paleontologist who became famously known around the world for her discoveries in Jurassic marine fossil beds in the cliffs along the English Channel at Lyme Regis in southwest England. I'm not talking about finding a tooth or something. She found 3 species of dinosaurs. Like 3 different species o dinosaur. Anning's findings contributed to a massive scientific research pushing prehistoric academia towards the future. In 1811, when Mary was only 12, she found a bizarre fossilized skull. Mary then searched for and dug the outline of its 5.2 meter long skeleton, and by the time she was done, everyone in the town knew that she had discovered something important. Scientists thought this was some sort of ancient crocodile. People were puzzled. 10 years later, she discovers a completely new skeleton of plesiosaur. 2 years later, she found one with wings. Today, the Natural History Museum in London showcases several of Mary Anning's historic finds, including her ichthyosaurus, plesiosaur, and pterosaur. Dude, there needs to be like at least 3 movies about her on Netflix, no? Like Jurassic Park, England. Number 2, Göbekli Tepe. This mysterious ancient site in the southeastern Anatolia region of Turkey is dated between 1000 and 12,000 BCE. The site comprises of a number of large man-made structures supported by massive stone megalithic pillars. Göbekli Tepe, or known simply as Potbelly Hill, is the oldest place of which megaliths were mounted. The oldest. Like ever, and most confusing. Pillars richly decorated with promorphic details, clothing, wild animals, fauna, star systems. Archaeologists are puzzled, to say the least. Famous German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt views Göbekli Tepe as a Stone Age sanctuary. Radiocarbon dating indicates that it contains the oldest known ruins that holster butchered bones of not only deer, but pigs, birds, geese, fish. They've been identified as cooked food, prepared for large groups as festivals or feasts. Yeah, they don't really know exactly what this place was used for, but after finding all this academia and scientific knowledge, it's certain that this place was used by scholars of high order to either teach or study the skills of masonry, as well as the cosmos. And it's only been about 1/10 discovered so far. Yeah, just about 1/10. Who knows what other secrets Göbekli Tepe has to unveil? Let's get those other 9/10 undug, no? And the number 1 spot, ancient Greek shipwreck. The oldest ancient Greek shipwreck ever discovered in the Black Sea, and you would never guess by looking at it. This ship is from 400 BC. It's an ancient Greek trading vessel. Not huge, but somehow, this ship has been kept in almost perfect condition for over 2,400 years, a mile below the sea surface. The lack of oxygen actually preserved the ship, and that's why it looked like it sank last year and not thousands of years ago. John Adams, principal investigator with the Black Sea Archaeology Project, describes the finding as something he never thought was even possible, let alone something he'd witnessed with his own eyes in his lifetime. This discovery changed what we know about ships in the ancient world. It is to date the oldest intact shipwreck ever known to mankind. It can't be beat. This thing is older than most curses. I say pull it up, slap some paint on her, get her going again, no? Quality versus quantity back then? Things were just built to last back then. History.
Kicking off the list at number 10, the Ring of Sekinianos. 1 ring to rule them all. And by rule, I mean curse you and your entire family for ages to come. Yeah, this 12-gram gold ring, for starters, was massive. It was beautiful. Its diameter was 25 millimeters, so unless you were wearing some mighty gauntlet, she might slip off. Big ol' ring. It's like a big onion ring, but a little bit more haunting. The ring had first been found in 1785. A farmer was plowing a field in Silchester Village, which is a village west of London, known for its, grim history, as are most of these things on this list. In 45 AD, ancient Romans invaded that site, and come the 7th century, it was completely abandoned. No one was left there. The ring was mighty. It had an inscription on it as well, a Latin inscription. Of course, always Latin. It read, Senequion vivas in diem. When 1929 rolled around, new details surfaced, or resurfaced rather. The data from the ring matched an excavation that was done in the early 1900s, less than 100 miles away, a place called Lydney. That's where this ring is from. That's the OG site. At the same site, however, a tablet was found recalling the Celtic god of healing and hunting, and how his favorite gold ring was stolen. In case you're wondering why this rings a bell, Lord of the Rings was inspired by this legend. The tablet also says, may he who bears the name of Senequianus not have health until he brings the ring back to the Temple of Nodens. So, if you've got it, let's go.
Number 9, the Crystal Skull. Honestly, I'm surprised we haven't talked about this more. A lot of Mesoamerican stuff today, but damn, they got a lot of curses and jinxes on all their stuff. And in reality, that's not fair. All a guy wants to do is loot and pillage other civilizations' treasures, just like my ancestors before me. Nice. Maybe. Well, besides being the 2nd worst Indiana Jones movie, yeah, I said it, I like that one better than the Temple of Doom. Now, if you didn't sit through an hour of Shia LaBeouf, and honestly I don't blame you, basically the skulls are like a Pokemon or Dragon Balls. You gotta catch them all. Only then you will receive a wish where a ghostly outworldish creature will grant you said wish. In other words, this is what a weekend at Vanessa Hudgens' house looks like. I don't know, she said she can talk to ghosts, so. The only ghouls that she's talking to are the people who think High School Musical holds up as a theatrical release. Seriously, try watching that movie now without cringing yourself into the bottom of a liquor bottle. Speaking of ghosts and liquor, you can buy alcohol in the shape of a crystal skull, because we are modern humans and we don't take ancient warnings very seriously. We will probably feel the wrath of the crystal skull, all thanks to a Canadian Ghostbuster.
Number 8, Pompeii Artifacts. Once a thriving, beautiful city in ancient Rome, Pompeii was sadly destroyed in 79 AD. This time it wasn't humans responsible for the massive loss of life. What do you know? It was actually Mother Nature this time around. She got one. Nice. The eruption of Vesuvius buried the ancient city in volcanic ash. Thank you, it took 9 tries. Little do you know, viewer. Excavation didn't begin until much later, during the 18th century, and after a century of careful excavations, the city was finally reopened again to the public. Finally, yeah. Just the place you want to go. Hey, every year there's many reports of lootings, locals, tourists, you name it. Everyone wants to steal a little piece of Pompeii, literally a little just in their pocket. Yeah, as if raining volcanic ash wasn't bad enough, now there's thousands of people literally stealing your land. Piece by piece. Pompeii archaeological superintendents get over 100 packages a year of said stolen fragments. They return them. Yeah, thieves will send the artifact back with a little note explaining how sorry they are and how it's caused extreme bad luck in the household. Again, might have something to do with the fact that you're a thief, but hey, who knows? Maybe it's that one time. That's why your marriage failed.
Number 7, the Codex Gigas. Basically translates to giant book, Codex Gigas. And it's giant. 170 pounds, it's the largest medieval manuscript in the world. Also known as the Devil's Bible. Yeah, due to the highly detailed full-page portrait of Satan himself, the demonology written within, and the legend around its initial creation. Made out of 180 donkeys, the famous myth is that the scribe traded his soul to the Prince of Darkness so that he could complete and master the contents of the universe written within this one book, comprised in only one night. Created in the early 13th century in the Benedictine monastery of Bohemia, now modern-day Czech Republic, this book's creepy. Yeah, it contains the complete Bible, like the Old One and the New Testament, as well as everything medicinal and cosmological that a human would know at Earth at that time. All written in Latin, and of course predated glyphs, and of course missing the last 10 pages of the book. Yep, ripped out and missing. I don't know. Who knows? The book lays in the National Library of Sweden in Stockholm. I wouldn't go near it. I wouldn't read it. I wouldn't even touch it. You know, I'm good with goosebumps. That scares me enough. Number 6, the oldest map. A 4,000-year-old stone slab first discovered over a century ago in France may be the oldest known map in Europe, according to a new study. The slab dates back to the early Bronze Age, 4,000 years ago. It was first discovered in 1900 in a prehistoric burial site in Finistère, France. The engravings on the broken stone appear to resemble topographical features including hills, reference points, and river networks. The broken slab, which is 4 meters long, was moved to a private museum in France in 1924. It was then stored in a French castle where it gathered dust until it was rediscovered in the castle cellar in 2014. But only recently are researchers beginning to understand the actual importance behind this prehistoric slab rock. It's been interpreted as the oldest cartographical map in Europe. Yeah, that's old. Number 5, the Voynich manuscript. There's a giant Italian Renaissance folio called the Voynich manuscript. It's named after Wilfrid Voynich, a book dealer who purchased it in 1912, and to this day we don't really know what it is. Hands down, the most mysterious book of all time. Not only is it detailed so carefully and patiently, it's basically like a Tim Burton take on a book about life, with an entire world drawn and recorded that isn't ours. Like parallel universe type stuff. Even the language is unknown, like unknown, like predates Latin and doesn't use phonetic patterns and coding. The riddle of all riddles. Written somewhere between 1405 and 1450, all 240 pages are inscribed in some sort of indecipherable language of about 170,000 characters. Historians and cartographers have tried to crack the code for hundreds of years, yet not one has been successful. Why wasn't this a national treasure movie? I feel like this would have been perfect, like Nicolas Cage, you know? I don't know. Number 4, the Nazca Lines. The ancient, very mysterious geoglyphs that make up the soil of the Nazca Desert in southern Peru is an old one. They were created, we think, somewhere between 1000 BCE and 500 AD. Basically, people would make impressions or shallow incisions on the desert floor, removing pebbles, leaving colored dirt exposed, drawing some sort of depictions of fauna and humanoid scribbles for only those above Earth to visually see. Basically what I'm trying to say here is that these are giant, ancient, unknown drawings you can only accurately depict from space, or from like drones hundreds of miles in the air. In the years leading up to 2020, between 80 and 100 new figures have been found with the use of drones and cameras since at least year 1900. Yo, who's drawing these things? And why is the mountain ranges so perfectly square and flat, like it's been laser cut to draw on? More than 70 designs are zoomorphic, including birds, spiders, fish, lizards, and of course, humans. Lots of different shapes and clothing and builds of humans. Interesting. It became a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1994. Yeah, I'd like to think so. I feel like this is gonna be on Art Attack.
Number 3, the Hope Diamond Curse. coming from the 1660s. Here we go. This curse began when a gem dealer named Jean-Baptiste Tavernier bought this large diamond when visiting India. Or so he said, he bought it. The origins of the diamond were unknown, but it didn't matter. This beauty was just sitting there. Well, later on, after he got the diamond, rumors started spreading throughout Europe and the United States that Tavernier actually stole the diamond from a statue of a Hindu goddess. Yeah, that sounds a little more on the nose. That's a bit more accurate. A little different than his story, but sadly a little more believable. The newspapers actually kicked this one off by publishing the Hope Diamond as an ancient curse. That ought to help, right? That spreads the word, I guess. The diamond at one point ended up in the hands of King Louis XVI and his wife, Marie Antoinette. Now, if you don't know about them, they were, they had some rough history happen with their heads being off their body and stuff. They lost their lives during the French Revolution, to say the least. The guillotine dream team, that's what we call them. The stone then went to Lord Francis Hope come 1839, and by that point it was deemed cursed. This is when it got the name the Hope Diamond, right? They ended up selling said diamond shortly after being reduced to poverty, and then Evelyn Welsh McLean bought the stone in 1912. Shortly after that, her son was killed in a car accident. When the stone was delivered to its final and current home, the Smithsonian, back in 1958, the driver who was delivering the package was later hit by a truck. Now he survived, but shortly after his house caught fire. Moral of the story, you don't need diamonds, for more reasons than one. Number 2, the Busby Stoop Chair. Coming from 1702, 10 years after the Salem witch trials, so take this one with a grain of salt. People made odd choices back then, okay? Women were witches because they knew math, and chairs were evil. Welcome to 1702, good luck. Englishman Thomas Busby had some issues with his father-in-law. He didn't handle them well, so now he had to be hanged for it. Yeah, he can't commit crimes to resolve problems. It's not a good thing. Can't just kill people for no reason, Thomas. What is this, 1692? He was hanged near the Humble Inn, which is an ironic name, but a chair that was nearby is now said to hold the spirit of one Thomas Busby. If you sit on this chair, you are set to die in a frightful accident. So the chair was declared haunted, but did anything actually happen? Yeah, locals say during World War II, airmen from a nearby base came to the pub, and those who sat on it never returned. And then in the 70s, more accidents were connected, but they still kept it around until 1978. Yeah, it stayed in the inn for that long, until it was donated to the Thirsk Museum. It's not even a rocking chair either. It looks like it should be a rocking chair, but it's not a rocking chair. That's the scariest part in my opinion. You try and lean back, you're like, oh, I really thought it was gonna rock there. Damn, it's disappointing. And finally, number 1, a ghost caught in a photograph. Yeah, this one ought to end the list in a pretty bizarre way. Doesn't matter where or when, but odds are you've seen this photo at some point in your life. You know when you see a photo, sometimes you just get bad vibes, like it registers in your brain as something scary but also real. Like you want to find something that looks fake about this photo, but it's tough. This photo was taken inside the Amityville house in 1976. It's a young lad with glowing white eyes, kind of hard to miss. It was taken with automatic cameras equipped with infrared, and it makes it even creepier that the boy looks like he's peeking around the corner. Nice, just hiding from you in his invisible ghost land. We love it. A photographer named Gene Campbell took this photo, and Gene at the time was working with paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren. This photo was revealed 3 years after it was taken on the Merv Griffin show, and many believe this is the ghost of one John DeFeo, one of the boys who lived there prior to that 1974 event. Yeah, we're still trying to figure this out. What do you guys think? Elaborate hoax, or perhaps this is one solid piece of evidence that the Amityville house is indeed haunted and ghosts are indeed real?